Hello everyone and welcome to the second to last round of this fourth season of the AOR PC GT3 in League around a wet Silverstone basically. It's a quite special one because for the first time ever we've set 2 weather slots into this race, which means we will start in the wet and we will finish in the dry, and it's going to be quite a challenge for the drivers, especially with the setup and also dealing with worn overheating wet tires basically towards the end of the first stint. And yeah, we're here in qualifying. I didn't expect too much as this is going to be my first ever wet race in this league, so yeah, as I said, I didn't expect too much after the podium last week, but yeah, I was still on a course to improve basically in the wet. I was quite a little bit off the pace, I have to say, in practice, but yeah, I kept improving, and this is going to be my fastest qualifying lap on my first stint actually, and almost flat out here through turn 5, which is good to see for me at least. And so we're now breaking down into Brooklyn's into second and trying to take it as tight as possible to get a good exit out of here, and we managed that quite well, also taking Lafayette as tight as possible. And early on the throttle here, a little bit of a correction on the wheel there, but nothing too major, as we now 2/10 actually up on my time that I set just in the session before, in the practice session. So that is good because that practice session was already a PB in that practice session. So that is very, very good so far. Also very good through cups, not running too wide there, which is very crucial as well, as we're now coming into Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel. And now down to second gear here for Chapel, and trying to early shift into third gear actually, that we do not lose the car here on the exit. And that is also quite a good second sector, I have to say. Yeah, almost 3/10 up on that PB so far, as we now prepare for Stowe. We're now down to second gear. Try to take the curb here with us, and a good exit out of here. Could have taken a little bit more speed through there, but overall very good so far. So now breakdown for, I don't know how this chicane is called, but anyway, we're now early shift into second gear. Ooh, a little bit almost losing the car here on the final corner of the lap, which is quite a tricky one to go flat out through there, but it is a very, very good time for us at 2:08 flat. And that is basically, yeah, almost a second faster than my time that I set the day before, I guess. So again, only 1.1 seconds off pole position, and it is P5 once again. So that's very, very good to see. It is Marcel on pole, only 18,000 of a second in front of Nestero, which is surprisingly beaten Kaki. The roof is very, very good in the wet, I have to say. Tony in the Aston in 4th, Tipple in 6th, behind us Brownski, Jellyfish, Central, Mini Black very close behind us. We were pretty lucky to get in front of all these guys in the end, that they didn't improve, so that is, yeah, quite a lucky thing. And Mini Black in the top 10 as well. I don't know if I mentioned him as well. AJ, very good qualifying for him in 11th. Rambo Rudy, or Karutten Rudy, better known, in 12th. Martin van der Bent. Estel Johan, a rookie I guess. Andrex Silva, my teammate, a little bit further down, didn't really have that much practice, I have to say. Nostra not here today. Pedro and Weisker rounding up the field for today's race. And of course Yoki and Fizzy. No, only Yoki actually in the session today, because Fizzy was not here for today's race. Yeah. So here we are on the grid, and same as last week basically, we are ignoring these lights and we will do a manual standing start this time, because yeah, that is the actual plan for the rest of the season, to do this, which is quite a good thing, I think, to get a little bit more safety into the starting procedures, stuff like that. Yeah, we will wait now for Yoki's instructions to start the race in a bit.
Okay, the drivers, start sweepers, now the green. Red, 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 green.
Here we go. The race is underway for round 9 of Silverstone. We're getting a terrible launch off the line because we weren't prepared to that the lights will go out so quickly. The call from Yoko was quite early, and we're losing already 2 positions to 2 BMW Z4s of Brownski and Tipple. Brownski up to 5th, so that's very good start for him as we're now coming into turn 3, and we're trying to take an outside line for this corner, and I can't really see much in where is the turning point, and that was I will explain later what actually happened. So we're here now coming into turn 5, and AJ's on the inside. We're making a little bit of contact with him, and we can't control the car anymore. We spin around into last position, and yeah, watching that back, it looks pretty painful and pretty looking a little bit like an amateur, I have to say, and it is a little bit like that, I have to say, because I just couldn't see where turn 4 is actually beginning, so I braked too late and I turned in way too late and hit Tipple. Luckily he didn't spun or something. That was the lucky thing about that, and then I just was so shocked by that I just forgot that AJ was actually side by side with me, and I just turned in, and then I made contact, and then I spun round. So that was a very, very unfortunate and hectic start from us. So yeah, it is going to be a recovery drive, really. As we're now in last position, of course, Yogi doesn't count because he has retired, and yeah, we will see what we can do. Oh, there's actually a car here on the left hand side. That's Kaki, so that is huge for the battle for second in the championship, actually, because I think Massa hasn't got a championship yet, but he most likely will if he will finish this race in P1. And Tony, I don't know what the circumstances were actually before this race. I can't remember anymore. I think if Massa wins this race, he will be pretty safe from his teammate Tony not to catch him anymore in the championship. So we gained 1 position because Kaki spun out, and Kaki, of course, still in the battle for the championship with Tony. So that is quite a thing, and Tony also dropping back, so he's in P16. So the P2 and 3 in the championship, so way down the order, which is a good thing for Massa, of course, because now he can just pull away. And there's a couple of cars coming into the pits because of damage. Is Tony indeed. We'll go into the pits now, and also a couple of other cars. Maybe we will spot that later if we are coming around the final corner now. And here we go, Kaki in as well. That's Brownski in as well. So that is not good for the Z4 driver, who had a very good start off the line. I think from P8 straight up into P5 into going into the first corner. So that was very, very good. He's in general a very good starter, but we are unfortunately not always. Sometimes we're getting reasonable launches, but this one was just awful. It was awful, and the next couple of corners were also very poor driving, I have to say. And ooh, a little bit of a twitch there, and then another one's losing it on the end, at the exit of turn 5. That is a very, very, very tricky corner here in the wet. It is Martin van der Bent. And here we go then on lap 3, end of lap 3, going into Stowe behind Wiseco, who's in a good position in P13 at the moment for him. Of course, a couple of cars pitted behind him, but so far the M3 doesn't look too bad on this track, I have to say. AJ qualified in 11th, so that is very, very good. Of course, AJ is a good driver, but this car is I think that is not going to work now. Wiseco, of course, anticipated that well, that we had a little bit more speed, but I don't know why I got up the inside there. Wasn't really an attempt to overtake. So, oh well, we will see. Wiseco, it looked pretty weird. I think he just gets a little bit slide there out of turn 2, and he braked not in a straight line. That was not going to work for him, and that gives us another position up to P13. So I mean, after looking at the minimap, you can see P1 and 2 pulling away, and the other ones are pretty in two. Well, so now on lap 6 they're split in 2 packs basically, and we're catching that pack in front. So this is good to see, as we are setting a new personal best of a 2:09.7 that was. So that is not too bad, but still 1.7 seconds off my pole time. And I have to say, my race pace wasn't very good in the wet, I have to say. I was quite struggling with some overheating tires in the left rear, as you can see also in the indicator in the bottom right. But yeah, that is basically my experiences I have to make basically with this wet weather for the first time for me. So far, it apart from the start, it went reasonably well. I mean, we still have a very realistic chance here to get into the top 10 and maybe a little further up, because I think my pace in the dry will be pretty good, because I tried to make as less changes to the dry setup as possible. So that is basically my range, as we're now on lap 7 behind Silver Arrow, and we're coming through turn 5, and you can see here on the entry as well, you can see it. It is so slippery in that turn 5. You can't, I mean, in the dry easily full throttle, but it is not in the wet. And if you do not have the right approach to that, you will basically lose it. And we lost it for the second time in this race already in that corner. And that is pretty annoying, because I wanted to be as cautious as possible through that corner every single time until I will pit onto the dries, because that corner, so it's not worth it going so aggressive through that. But we just didn't nail our lines through there, and that was basically the case in the end, that we didn't manage it. As we're now on lap 8, we're missing the apex by a country mile here, going into Beckett, I think that was now Chapel, and we can see Karki now behind, and we will let him through now, as there's no point fighting him. And maybe we can, I mean, we will probably be about 1 or 2 seconds faster per lap if we reach our optimum, but maybe we can just copy some lines and just, yeah, find a little bit of a rhythm, but because so far it hasn't been the case. So we really have to try to forget those mistakes we made in the first couple of laps and just step on it and do what we did so well last week out in Zhuhai. Just be consistent and fast as well. So that was my aim now, as we will try to stay as much with Kaki as possible, and you can see that's not going to be the case. He's already pulled the gap from 2 seconds and within 1 lap, but you can see on the indicator on the top right, we will set a new personal best, and that is a good sign as we come across the line. Yeah, 2:09.5. That is, mate, it is okay. It is okay. It is an okay-ish time, I guess. So you also have to consider now, as the track is drying out, we will definitely the track is going to be faster. So the track is we will set some very fast time actually on the wet tires in the end of this stint. The wet tires also are going to be quite hot towards the end of the stint, as you will see now as we skip to lap 50 and look at, especially at the rear tires, they are so hot now. But still, I mean, look at the time indicator, we are still improving on our lap times, and from experience, it is not ready just yet for the inters, for the dry tires. As we're now behind Pedro, who's quite struggling in the Cadillac, and he is not having a good run out of corps. And we now will try to make a straightforward move, which is we're trying to go a tricky one. He's going side by side through the entry of Maggots, Beckett and Chapel, but he gives us that position basically as he backs out of it, making that we are now up into P13, which is good. It is a very good sign so far. Yeah, only 2 tenths down on our personal best, who's now at 2:07.5. So you can see how much faster we are than in the opening laps here on this stint. Yeah, that is basically that is only due to the weather. Improving. And now lap 16, going into our scheduled pit stop lap basically. And behind Pedro, I should mention, that is Tony, who made another mistake. Had another incident, I'm not too sure, I have to say. And now we will go into the pits for our scheduled pit stop, putting on the dry tires. The soft tires, they will easily last until the end, as we are now Mini Black in the pits as well, people in the pits as well. Mini Black actually already going out of the pit, so that is good for him. And I think we are one of the first to pit it because, yeah, I don't think someone pitted on lap 15. That was not worth it. I think lap 16 is the earliest you can go. Lap 17 might be. It is not. I was not sure what is faster, going in lap 16 or lap 17. I was not sure what to do. I just tried to go for the undercut and deal with this quite damp conditions now in this opening lap as good as possible, I have to say, because at the start of the stint here we will not improve too much. So now I'm setting a new personal best for 2 or 4.7 I think that was simply due to the pit entry, but in the end we should do about 159s with the dry tires, which should be good. And we're coming out actually behind. So Tibble is coming out in front of us, and no, sorry, that's Centro. Sorry, I think Centro was behind us. He was right behind Tony, or was he? I'm not too sure where Centro was, but I think we lost a little bit of time in that lap, on that out lap, a bit more than I expected. And we're now right behind Centro, but it will be difficult to overtake him. Of course, he's someone who has very, very good pace, and it is not easy to overtake a Z4, although we have a straight down advantage, but we can't outbrake a Z4. It's impossible with the SLS to outbrake a Z4, so it is, and the straights are not particularly not very, very long on this straight. You can see we were gaining, but I mean, going for a move up the inside on cops, that is way too risky. We're running a little bit wide there. So Tony is now catching up, so we have to watch out for him. He is, of course, very, very feisty to go through because he has much, much better pace than, well, pretty much all of the cars in front of him, except maybe Kaki and Masa. So here we go then. And Tony seemed to have a better exit than I did, and let's see what he can do. We were catching actually Centro, but Tony in the Aston, a very good top speed, I have to say, and he's going up the inside. There's not much we can do about this, and he has also a good exit out of there, and he might attack Centro into the corner here, but Centro goes defensive and we're braking later than Tony going on the outside of that chicane, but no, he shuts the door, as this is basically his rider was already in front, and we have to give up that position to Tony, which is not too bad because, I mean, Tony will pull away anyway, but yeah, task is now to catch some of the so a couple of cars not too far in front, and maybe they will struggle on pace as well. We can see a Cadillac there. We should be able to catch the Cadillacs. I am pretty sure we should do that. And as there is a McLaren behind, that is the rookie of Johan, so he is still in this race basically, and he has some good dry pace as well. I think he was struggling in the rain, but now he has got some good pace as Tony now goes up the inside of Centro going into Brooklyn's, and he made that move stick, so 2 straightforward moves for Tony, which is good for his race, crucial for his race, to improve his position in the end. And he will most likely now pull away from Centro and me, and we will see how much we can do about Centro if he is pulling away as well, or if we are able to overtake him as we're running wide on cops again, and that's Centro spinning off the curb of cops. That is unfortunate for him, and we will gain that position from him up into P12 now, as I think now everyone pitted. I think the last guys pitted on lap 18, and lap 18 is very, very late. Being a little bit wide here on the exit of Chapel as well, but we shouldn't worry too much about Johan. He of course has good pace, but we should have a little bit faster as we're now on lap 21, and we catch Andrex in the Cadillac as I predicted. Tony already went through on Andrex, and we're having a much better run again on cops. So this is basically a similar move to Pedro, but it is an aggressive move. We're going side by side, and Andrex, of course, not giving up the position, because why should he? He's fighting for that position, and he hangs it here, and he defends that position very, very well. So it was quite an interesting experience to go side by side through that, but I think he was not happy with that I tried that move, because I could easily wait for the straight, as I have superior straight lines. But here we go, out the outside of Stowe. Can we make that one stick? And he's still on the inside. It's going to be very, very close. We have a good exit out of there, and we'll now have the inside line for the Andrex coming here on the outside, braking later than us, tries to give us less room as possible, and we're now side by side for the last corner, and we're making that. But again, I think Andrex is, we will back out of that, and Andrex maintains P11 for the moment, and that of course allowed Tony to already catch up again to these two guys in front now. We will have to overtake Andrex as soon as possible if we want to get in the top 10 towards the end of the race, because now we have 9 laps almost left. Here we go, we have a good exit out of turn 4 and 5, and surely now this is going to be an attempt to overtake him. We have to be a little bit more brave on the brakes, I have to say. Here we go, braking as late as possible around the outside. And that is Andrex actually losing the car a little bit on the inside. There was no contact on my screen. I think there wasn't even contact on his screen, but he just lost it going into Brooklyn. Of course, he tried to defend that position as well as he could, but in the end made a little bit of a mistake, and that was crucial for us, because now we are in clean air. And actually, look at this on lap 28. That is Kaki very slow. I think there is another incident. There was another incident as we now setting a new personal best for 59.5. So we are definitely on the pace now. But there is no one actually in front of us. Tony pulled a gap from 6 seconds to us. Actually, we didn't lose too much on Tony actually after. Oh, Tony! Speaking of Tony spinning around again. So what are Kaki and Tony doing in this race? They're making, I don't know, so many spins and so many incidents from them, and Tony spinning again, and Kaki now behind us, and we're now in a sandwich of the guys who are battling for second in the championship, which is quite an interesting constellation, I have to say, for this remaining 1.5 laps. And our target now is actually to defend from Kaki, because I don't think Tony will give us any chance to overtake him, as we are not having that much better straight line speed than the S10. I think Tony also running quite low wings, I have to say. Otherwise, he wouldn't have made that move up into Stowe a couple of laps earlier on at the start of this stint. And we try to keep it as close to Tony as possible, and just hitting our apexes that we do not make any mistakes, because otherwise Kaki will be right there and will strike, because he's very good at predicting what drivers will do, and he's very good at overtaking people. So he is definitely a threat for us in this 1.5 laps to go. But for now, he's still out of that 1 second. So this is quite good. But I predict towards the end of this lap he will be, and he already 9/10, and still jumping around between 9/10 and look at this. Now he's on it. He's on it. He's right behind us. Hitting a little bit of the curb here on the outside of that second to last corner, which is not too good, as we now coming now to lap 30, the final lap of this race. It has been quite an eventful race for me, I have to say. Quite the opposite of Juhai. But if we could get P9 in the end, I would be reasonably happy with that after those 2 spins at the start, and then on lap 6 I think it was. So we will try to stay in the slipstream of Tony, but Tony really nailing those apexes in the early part of that lap, and we were a little bit further down now as we were a couple of corners ago. Definitely Kaki now pushing now. You can see that he is definitely closing corner per corner. He's so close now, only 3/10 behind us. So This is going to be quite an interesting thing coming now to Stowe afterwards. And as actually the race is already finished, Massa won it. This is not a surprise, I have to say, after Tony and Kaki not in range for the win for today. And we now concentrate on these final couple of corners. For the last time, Maggots, Packets and Chapman. See, Kaki's so close on our tail, but we have to keep our calm here. And we are out, well, we still have a little bit of slipstream from Tony, which is crucial. But now it is going to be a tough decision. Do we have to brake as late? We will brake as late as possible. We're braking very late, but it is too late. And it allows Kaki to go up the inside. That is not what we want. Oh, very close, almost contact between the two of us. And now braking as late as possible into the chicane, but Kaki does it actually, and he will try to switch back, this desperate switchback here on the inside, but no, it doesn't going to work. We stick our nose in that was not what we should have done. Little bit what is the right word for that? Well, too opportunistic, I have to say. Too opportunistic to stick it there and try to do the desperate side. But I mean, there is no... I mean, he doesn't need to give us any room there in this corner. Luckily, no one of us lost another position. So in the end, it is P10. We lost that position to Kaki on the final lap. Not too major, I mean... Yeah, P9 or P10, and it doesn't really matter. Massa winning in front of this Terovich, very good race from him. Jellyfish in a surprising P3, and Rambo Rude, Carottenbudi in P4, so that's very good. Martin van der Bent, Mini Black, AJ, Tony, Kaki, and then me rounding up the top 10 with a minute and 18 seconds behind. That's basically the same gap as it was in Spa. Although in Spa I hadn't had any... Although, yeah, I had damage in the first stint. But anyway, behind us is Johan and Andrex in 12th, Pedro in 13th, Brownskin 14th in the end, so not a good race for him after having such a good start. Central in P15, also not a good race for him, and neither had Silver in the end, at least a point for him in the end. P16, Hippel in 17, and White Sky running up the top, running up this field actually in P18. So that was this quite eventful race, I have to say, at Silverstone. Hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you for the next video, which is going to be the finale of this season. And I have to say, I'm still battling for a top 10 position in the championship, so that will be quite an interesting thing to see how that will go out. And I'll see you there at Road America for round 10. Bye bye.